Hello everyone, today I am pleased to share our paper accepted by ICCV 2025. Recent advances in end-to-end autonomous driving systems have enabled the integration of perception, prediction, and planning into unified frameworks, delivering significant breakthroughs in autonomous mobility. These systems benefit from powerful foundational models and large-scale datasets, promoting scalability and continuous improvement. However, high-quality annotated data, especially for rare and safety-critical scenarios, is expensive and difficult to obtain, resulting in datasets dominated by trivial everyday cases. Attempts to enhance training using a mix of simulated and real data are limited by the persistent sim-to-real gap, as discrepancies between synthetic and real-world inputs hinder effective knowledge transfer. This raises a central question. Can synthetic simulation data be leveraged to improve real-world autonomous driving performance? Recent approaches using multimodal large language models offer promising opportunities to address this challenge, and our method RoboTron-Sim demonstrates significant gains, over 50% improvement in handling hard-to-drive scenarios by effectively utilizing simulated hard case data. To summarize, our contributions lie in threefold. First of all, to our knowledge, we present the first in-depth investigation of sim-to-real transfer limitations in MELMS for AD, accompanied by a simple yet effective framework that strategically leverages synthetic hard case data to enhance real-world driving competencies. Secondly, we address the critical domain discrepancies between simulated and real-world data, including scenario-aware prompts that dynamically model data provenance and geographical context, and a geometry-aware image-to-ego encoder that disentangles sensor-specific parameters. Thirdly, experiments on nescenes demonstrated that RoboTron-Sim achieves SOTA planning performance, particularly showing 48.1% improvement in L2 distance and 45.8% enhancement in collision rate for hard scenarios. Our goal is to utilize simulated data to enhance the driving performance of models in challenging and crucial scenarios, which are difficult to encounter and collect in the real world. To this end, we first create a simulated dataset, Hard Case Augmented Synthetic Scenarios (HAS), that includes a variety of challenging and critical situations. Subsequently, we introduced two dedicated technologies: scenario-aware, prompt engineering SPA and image-to-ego encoder I2E encoder, designed to help the multimodal large language model baseline effectively leverage simulated data to improve its performance. To generate simulated data tailored to address the real-world challenging scenarios, we categorize the driving scenarios based on real-world data availability and criticality. Common scenarios in autonomous driving are frequently encountered and can be systematically categorized as easy to drive E to D and hard to drive H to D based on driving difficulty. E2D scenarios include straightforward cases such as daylight lane keeping and uncongested traffic, providing foundational references for model calibration. In contrast, H2D scenarios involve greater driving challenges due to conditions like poor weather or low lighting, for example, nighttime driving, fog, or heavy rain, which degrades sensor performance. Because E2D scenarios are much more common than H2D, existing datasets are often imbalanced. For instance, nescenes contains roughly 7 times more daytime than nighttime data. However, H2D scenarios require more data for effective training, which motivates the synthesis of H2D data to achieve balance and improve model performance in challenging situations. Long-tail scenarios encompass events that are rare in natural driving environments but highly diverse and complex. These include uncommon environmental factors, atypical agent behaviors, or transient conditions that challenge perception and decision-making systems, such as near collisions, abrupt pedestrian appearances, unexpected vehicle maneuvers, or complex intersections with red light violations. While each scenario is unlikely, their unpredictability and safety risks make them crucial for robust autonomous driving. traditional models struggle due to the combinatorial complexity and scarcity of these cases. By leveraging simulation data containing these specific long-tail scenarios, we can better train and evaluate models to handle rare but critical situations, thus enhancing real-world robustness and safety. Our initial attempts at the planning task used traditional models like VAD, which were trained on both simulated and real-world data. However, experiments showed that simulated data provided only minimal improvement, such as reducing L2 distance by about 1% in hard scenarios. We found that the main limitation was traditional models' inability to generalize across diverse and dynamic environments, primarily due to the significant domain gap between simulation and reality. Given the strong generalization abilities of multimodal large language models MELMs in various visual tasks, we were motivated to investigate their potential for this planning challenge. The proposed framework, as illustrated in the figures, employs a multimodal architecture. It consists of three main components: a visual feature extractor, a feature adapter, and an ELM backbone. The visual feature extractor processes raw videos from multiple camera views over time, encoding them into a compact spatiotemporal representation, reducing dimensionality while preserving critical details for downstream tasks. Furthermore, the framework employs a two-layer multilayer perceptron MLP to project the extracted visual features into the language model's embedding space, establishing dimensional compatibility between the visual representations and linguistic tokens while preserving semantic consistency across modalities. Consequently, the ELM decoder integrates the processed visual features with tokenized text input, predicting textual outputs in an autoregressive manner. By leveraging both multimodal contexts and previously generated tokens, coherent and contextually relevant responses emerge. To address the domain discrepancies between simulated and real-world environments, we implement contextual priming through scenario-aware prompt engineering (SPE). Specifically, each input sequence is augmented with an environmental descriptor formatted as "You are driving in city name" under simulation real-world scenarios. This structured prompt serves dual purposes: domain awareness, explicitly informing the model about the data characteristics such as sensor noise levels through categorical labeling of simulation or real-world contexts, and geographical conditioning, embedding location-specific priors such as traffic rules via city name specifications, enabling adaptive processing of regional driving patterns. For instance, the prompt "You are driving in town 13" under simulation scenario activates the model's knowledge of both the city's unique driving habits, left-hand or right-hand driving, and traffic rules. This added context helps the MELM baseline adjust its decision-making by ignoring unrealistic details from simulations when working with real-world data, while utilizing useful patterns learned from synthetic scenarios to improve planning stability. Due to variations in vehicles and cameras, together with different sensor installation positions in simulated and real-world scenarios, the intrinsic and extrinsic parameters of the camera typically differ between the two systems. This discrepancy creates a critical cross-domain gap, leading to degraded performance when transferring between simulation and reality. To enhance adaptability to different camera parameters, we introduce an image-to-ego encoder I2E encoder to explicitly incorporate geometric transformations into the input processing, enhancing the visual features with 3D spatial information. Specifically, we first compute the image-to-ego transformation matrix using the camera's intrinsic and extrinsic parameters for each view, ensuring a consistent spatial representation across different viewpoints. Subsequently, we employ the I2E encoder, implemented as a two-layer MLP, to integrate this geometric information into the MELM baseline. This encoder maps the transformation matrix into an embedding space that captures the spatial context of each camera view. The resulting embeddings are then concatenated with the tokenized text input, allowing the model to incorporate spatial reasoning directly into its decision-making process. To ensure a fair comparison of planning capabilities across different methods, we evaluate our methods under two settings, one without ego pose as input and two with ego pose as input. As shown in the table, when ego pose is excluded, the framework achieves state-of-the-art trajectory prediction accuracy with the lowest average L2 distance 0.56 meter and collision rate 0.58%, while maintaining a competitive boundary violation rate 3.02% vs 4.29% in omniDrive. Incorporating ego pose further improves these metrics to 0.23 meter L2 distance and 0.26% collision rate. The boundary violation rate decreases to 2.62%, demonstrating consistent performance gains across all safety-critical metrics and highlighting RoboTron-Sim's adaptability to both sensor-limited and sensor-rich conditions. Here we evaluate the performance improvement of RoboTron-Sim in each scenario. Specifically, we trained the proposed model on two kinds of data, one nescenes and two nescenes plus HAS. The results in the left figure show significant performance differences across environments. Any 2D scenarios, day plus straight plus sunny, existing models already perform well, leaving limited room for improvement. In contrast, in H2D scenarios, night plus turn plus rainy, adding HAS enables notable progress. The nighttime collision rate is reduced by 42.4% from 2.71% to 1.56%, and turning maneuver precision improves by 51.5% in L2 metrics. RoboTron-Sim achieves a 51.3% lower collision rate than the baseline, highlighting that while stability is maintained in routine cases, the main benefits of HAS come from breakthrough gains in hard scenarios via synthetic data. We conduct comparative experiments in multiple data regimes to verify data robustness, one varying proportions of nescenes data from 100% to 0%, and two different proportions of nescenes data combined with full HAS data. As shown in the right figure, RoboTron-Sim maintains stable performance even as the proportion of real-world data drops from 100% to 10%. In contrast, models trained only on real data suffer significant degradation when data is limited, with both L2 distance and collision rates increasing. Incorporating HAS alleviates this performance loss, ensuring minimal impact even when real data is scarce. Notably, combining simulated data with about 20% real samples achieves the same performance as using 100% real data, demonstrating the key role of synthetic data in compensating for real-world data shortages and enabling robust trajectory planning. Additional ablation study results are available in our paper for further reference. In this paper, we present RoboTron-Sim, an approach that improves real-world driving robustness by leveraging long-tail and hard-to-drive cases. To our knowledge, this is the first solution addressing SIM to real gaps in MELMs for autonomous driving. We introduce the HAS dataset and the RoboTron-Sim model with SPAY and I2E, boosting real-world performance in rare high-risk driving scenarios. Thank you for your listening.